Everything you were promised was a finely crafted deception. You were told that modern life was the summit of human achievement, that innovation, global access, and advancement would usher you gently into a life of ease, contentment, and fulfillment. But now you find yourself hollow, quietly asking how it's possible to feel so empty when supposedly you have everything. This isn't a coincidence. It's the defining contradiction of our time. You were sold the idea that progress would cure your unrest. But what they didn't mention is that the very same progress has become a relentless engine of anxiety, isolation, and fatigue. We exist within a world shaped by tools meant to make things easier, yet the further we move forward, the more estranged we become from ourselves. You've likely felt it, that strange disquiet that creeps in when the screen turns black and you're left alone with the silence. A silence that echoes the unsettling truth. You've been molded into just another cog in a machine that never pauses. A machine that doesn't ask if you're fulfilled, only if you're still functioning. Let's not sugarcoat it. Today's systems weren't designed for your peace of mind, but for your efficiency. You've been conditioned to sprint in a race with no final destination, fueled by endless purchasing and guided by the ever-present ache of dissatisfaction. Because if you were truly content, if you found real peace, you'd stop chasing. And for those in charge, that's a problem. They taught you your worth lies in what you produce, what you acquire, and how you appear. That connection is built through likes, and that joy is a ping on your phone. But every new buy, every new milestone leaves you slightly more disillusioned, quietly suspecting that none of it actually touches the emptiness within. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when was the last time you genuinely connected with someone? Not a passing comment online, not small talk filled with empty phrases. A true, soul-deep bond that made you forget the time. Hard to recall, isn't it? It's not by chance. You've been pushed into a lifestyle so fast-paced, it's left no room for reflection or authenticity. We live in a paradox, never more connected, yet never more alone. Messages fly at the speed of light, but hearts drift further apart. They promised us belonging and gave us solitude, cloaked in constant connectivity. Modern culture also fed us a lie about work. Do what you love and you'll never work a day. But even passion becomes a prison when trapped in a cycle that never ends. You work to pay for things you didn't want, to impress people you don't know, all to uphold a rhythm that slowly eats away at your spirit. It's a loop. Work more, earn more, spend more, just to feel a little less numb. But the more you indulge in consumption, the more hollow the core becomes, because buying was never meant to nourish the soul. It's a short-lived cover over a wound that requires something deeper. And this is the part they don't want you to stumble upon. That true contentment doesn't come from accumulation. It comes from surrender. It's found when you step away from the screens, mute the external chaos, and dare to hear the faint voice within. It's not easy. It's frightening. Looking inward means facing the questions you've been dodging for years. It forces you to confront your fears, your insecurities, your emptiness. But in that silence, something profound begins to take root. Answers emerge, not from algorithms or advertisements, but from an honesty you've buried beneath distraction. The world doesn't want you to arrive here. It would rather you keep moving, keep scrolling, keep numbing yourself with small hits of digital satisfaction. It wants you to believe that the next milestone, the next gadget, the next thumbs up will finally grant you the peace you crave. But let me tell you plainly, peace isn't waiting at the end of this race, because the race itself is a fiction. True calm arrives the moment you step off the track and begin exploring the road of your own authenticity. This is the real revolt, not in protests or shouts, but in the quiet act of unplugging from the noise, from false expectations, from the illusion of progress. The true uprising happens in the mind when you choose to reject overconsumption, to stop worshiping productivity, and to abandon shallow relationships that drain rather than fulfill. The modern era has transformed life into a hunt for illusions, status, possessions, accolades. But chase them long enough and you realize they dissolve as soon as you stop running, and in their place, what remains? A simple moment of truth, an honest conversation, a glance filled with meaning, a breath taken in full awareness of your existence. This is the irony of modern life. The harder you chase happiness, the more distant it becomes. Like running toward the horizon, it seems reachable, but every step stretches it farther away. The solution isn't more speed. It's stopping altogether. It's realizing that the whole pursuit was built to keep you running in circles. Understand this. Real fulfillment isn't measured in your resume or your bank account. It's measured in the quiet steadiness of your heart. And that can't be bought, downloaded, or liked. It's cultivated from within. It's born when you strip away everything and finally confront the question you've been avoiding. If the noise stopped, if no one was watching, if you had nothing to prove, what would be left of you? The answer to that is your essence. And until you face that truth, you remain shackled to a system that thrives on your uncertainty. It's time to awaken, to challenge the script they handed you, to recognize that freedom isn't found in having more, but in needing less. That wealth is not in what you gather, but in what you release. Because in letting go, you reclaim yourself. You reclaim yourself from the crushing weight of others' demands, from the stress of futures that haven't come, from the endless comparisons to curated digital lives. And in doing so, you give yourself permission to live, truly live. And it's in that space, only there, where you'll discover the fulfillment you've searched for in every external place. Quiet, unflashy, but infinitely more real than applause or recognition. That path, the real one, is there, waiting for you to have the courage to walk it. It won't be the most comfortable nor the most crowded. It begins in solitude, but eventually you'll see it's the only path that leads anywhere worth going. So choose right now. Step out of the noise. Step out of the race. Start hearing the voice that's been whispering inside you all along. Modern life promised you joy, but only you can deliver it. And it's not in your next alert, your next purchase, or your next award. It's been within you all along. But there's a deeper layer, one rarely spoken of. Beneath all this technological theater lies the myth of control. They led you to believe that with enough data, enough planning, you could forecast your life like weather, predictable, manageable, safe. Algorithms now tell you what to crave, what to watch, what to believe. It's all orchestrated to give you a sense of control. But that grip you think you have, it's an illusion. The more you tighten it, the more anxious you feel. Because deep down, You know, life isn't programmable. It slips through even the most carefully clenched fingers. You've handed your inner compass to machines, allowed digital nudges to decide what matters. You've become a passive observer, hoping some dashboard will steer you toward happiness. And yet, despite endless choices and unlimited access, you feel directionless, paralyzed by possibilities, smothered by options. They gave you maps but stole your compass. And without a compass, every step feels like a threat. Stop. Look inward. This maze of infinite options wasn't built to guide you. It was built to keep you lost. Modernity doesn't want you to arrive. It wants you to wander endlessly until you forget you were ever seeking something real. They even taught you that pausing means failure, that resting is weakness, that questioning is dangerous. Why? Because the moment you pause, you see clearly. You notice the false promises, the misleading signs, the empty goals. The greatest sickness of this era is the disconnection from your inner sense. You've been taught to trust codes over instinct, predictions over intuition. But your intuition, quiet, buried, and long neglected, is the only compass that doesn't lie. Even your deepest fear, that of being left behind, has been manufactured. They convinced you survival depends on constant motion, that if you don't sprint, you'll be erased. But ask yourself, where are they all running? Are they heading toward fulfillment or away from themselves? Look closely. They're not chasing happiness. They're fleeing discomfort, fleeing the silence that reveals their doubts, fleeing the truth they don't want to face, that they don't know where they're going. And here's the boldest truth. Real courage isn't in running harder, but in daring to stop when everyone else speeds up, to pause, reflect, and listen to the truths you've buried for far too long. That's where the shift begins. That's where you learn the difference between what they've taught you to want and what your spirit truly needs. That's where your inner compass starts working again, not from fear, but from clarity. And here's a final truth they'll never advertise. The success they sell is intentionally unreachable, always one step away. Because once you truly feel complete, their grip over you slips. That's why they keep moving the goalposts. More status, more money, more likes, but never more peace. You've been trained to believe motion equals meaning. But sometimes, motion is just escape. And while you run, the most precious thing you have slips away, your time. That non-renewable gift drained by a system designed to exploit your energy. They wrap it in urgency, in false emergencies to keep you compliant. But here's the breakthrough. Reclaiming your time is reclaiming your life. It's severing the invisible chains. It's waking up from the trance. It's becoming the one in control, not of every outcome, but of your own presence. Now, take that first step. This isn't about vanishing into the forest or cutting yourself off from society. It's about stepping into full responsibility for your own existence. It's about refusing to be dragged along by the currents of trends and finally becoming the designer of your own time. And here's a question, one that may sting, but needs to be asked. If at this very moment you were completely unchained, free from societal expectations, from the need to gain approval, from the weight of being judged, what would you choose to do with your life? Don't sugarcoat the answer. Be brutally real. Because that answer, that's the compass you've been unconsciously searching for all along. But let's not stop there. There's something even more deceptive, more dangerous, a trap that's harder to see and harder to escape. The snare of a fabricated identity. Yes, the false self you've been conditioned to wear. A version of you built to satisfy demands you never agreed to. A persona crafted to survive, not to live. You've been convinced that you are your credentials, your trophies, your job title, your social media stats, the car you drive, the digits in your bank balance. Worst of all, you've believed the lie for so long that you no longer recognize the separation between the mask and the real you. But hear this clearly. That version isn't you. It's a shell you built to function in a system that celebrates the superficial and penalizes the genuine. Because authentic individuals, they're unpredictable. They don't fit cleanly into categories. They can't be monetized or managed. That's why, from the time you were small, you were taught to compete, to perform, to shape yourself around someone else's definition of success. You were groomed to be efficient, profitable, and productive. Never to be yourself. Never to look inward. Never to question who you are beyond your output or your possessions. And here's the venom. The farther you drift from your true self, the more hollow you feel. You can win every external game and still fail miserably in the eyes of your own soul. That invisible weight you carry, that relentless fatigue that never lifts even after rest, it doesn't come from sleepless nights. It comes from living a life that was never yours to begin with. Modernity has mastered the art of keeping you distracted just enough so you never ask the real questions. Because if you ever paused long enough to really wonder who you are, if you ever dared to peel back the mask, you'd realize you've been stuck in a role you despise. Let me tell you something you may not want to hear. Applause may come your way, but peace, that's a different story. Applause dies down. The noise fades, and when it does, you're left with the silence, the echo of your own questions. Who am I? Who am I really doing this for? We live in an age obsessed with visibility. People are desperate to be noticed, yet they never take the time to truly see themselves. And that brings us to one of the most dangerous dependencies of all, the craving for external validation. This need has been embedded in your mind so deeply that approval has become a form of emotional survival. If others don't affirm us, we feel like we vanish. But this isn't progress, it's psychological captivity. Wanting to be seen is natural, needing to be seen to feel worthy, that's the prison. And the more you rely on approval, the easier it becomes to be manipulated. You'll twist yourself into whatever shape gets applause. You'll compromise your beliefs, water down your truth, betray your essence, all for acceptance. So here's a different way forward. Total withdrawal from outside validation. A radical silence, one that lets you hear the only voice that really matters, your own. Picture this, a stage, empty seats, no clapping, no critics, no spotlight, just you, alone. What would you do in that space? What would you express, become, create if no one else was watching? Because that's where true freedom lives. Freedom isn't about performing for an audience. It's about living without one. Let me take you deeper, to a place even fewer talk about, the quiet regression of the modern adult. And I'm not saying this to insult you, but to wake you up. Look at how we're treated, like perpetual teenagers, distracted by luxury gadgets, overstimulated by shallow content, emotionally numbed by easy comforts. We're offered instant rewards to keep us too busy to ask meaningful questions. Because the adult who grows emotionally doesn't need constant stimulation. A mature mind looks for purpose. A grounded soul craves depth. But that kind of individual, the system can't use them. So it keeps you distracted, childlike, and dependent. Think about it. How many times have you felt a subtle pain inside, a quiet inner ache, only to quickly grab your phone, binge a show, or buy something just to avoid that discomfort? That ache is not your enemy. It's your signal. That discomfort is the inner alarm, the soul's whisper trying to rouse you. Don't shut it down. Lean into it. Listen. In fact, let it become your guide. If you're brave enough to sit with it, not run from it, that discomfort can become the flame that burns away the illusion. That's how awakening begins. So here's the challenge. Don't flee the unease. Welcome it. Ask it what it wants to reveal. It's not there to punish you. It's there to unlock you. Once you accept that, you'll enter a space very few ever reach, the space of inner sovereignty. This is where your transformation begins. This is where you cease being a product of the world and start becoming the conscious creator of your own life. You're no longer blown around by external trends. You become the rooted tree, unmoved, unshaken, not because you shout, but because your mere presence speaks. And this is when life really starts, not for approval, not for applause, but simply to exist, to be. But before we wrap this up, I want to offer one last moment. Stay here with me. Don't check the time. Don't reach for the next notification. We're going to cross into a space beyond noise, into something rarely considered, the link between time and your experience of life. There's something slipping away from you daily, and you might not even notice. I'm not talking about hours on a clock. I'm talking about lived time, the kind you feel in your bones. Modern life has stripped you of the ability to truly experience moments. It keeps your mind racing ahead, always anticipating, never arriving. It taught you to distrust stillness, to avoid silence, to treat the present like a burden. But that silence, that stillness, it holds the truth you've been running from. Life isn't waiting for you down the road. It's happening right now as you read this. That's the tragedy. We chase a tomorrow that never lands while the now evaporates beneath our feet. Every second you spend avoiding the present is a second lost, gone, unrecoverable. And so I ask you, straight and unfiltered, how many more moments are you willing to give to nothingness? Because the time you waste isn't just time, it's life. It's your life, and there are no extra chances, no second draft. This breath, this instant is all you're guaranteed. Here's the turning point. Once you truly understand this, your priorities will shatter and reassemble. Your masks will crumble. Your hunger for outside approval will dissolve. And what's left is raw, is real. It's the stripped down, powerful truth of who you are, without decoration. So instead of asking, what's next? Try asking what actually matters. Am I truly living? Or am I just existing within a machine that never saw me as human? And if that question unsettles you, that's good. It means you still have a chance to wake up, to reclaim not measured time, but felt time, soul time. And the time to do it isn't tomorrow. It's not when you're richer or safer or more certain. The time is now, only now. Before you go, I want to offer a small but powerful challenge. If you made it this far, if this has stirred something inside you, write this phrase somewhere, publicly or privately. I reclaim my time. Not for me, For you, it's a declaration to yourself and to the world that you will no longer sleepwalk through your days, that you've woken up. And if this reflection placed you in front of the mirror you've been avoiding, consider staying on this path. Subscribe, not because I said so, but because this is just the beginning. The next truths will be even more difficult. But if you're ready, we'll face them together. This space isn't for those who choose comfort. It's for the ones who dare to dismantle the lies, for those willing to walk through the fire of discomfort to find the freedom on the other side. So, I leave you with one final image. Picture an enormous hourglass, and with each falling grain, don't see time. See your life. How many more grains are you willing to let fall without meaning? Don't answer now, but never forget to ask. We'll meet again, not when the algorithm decides, but when you're ready to see with open eyes. Until then, live like you're already free.